Today I want to talk about the balancing act. Now I'm talking about the INFJ balancing act. Basically how we have to almost balance within our psyche, within our mind, and balance within two worlds. And I'm going to talk about that today. Oh, this is Tom. This is the INFJ experience. And I want to welcome you. So I'm going to talk about that. So I have 6 reasons why and how we can live a better life if we just understand our own balancing act as our type. Okay. Now, the first one, INFJs live from the inside out, but they must also keep their feet on the ground, basically. Okay, that's part of your balancing act, people. You're introverted intuitives. Yeah, that's what we are. We live from the inside out. We're always in our mind, in our head. And of course, we have the extroverted feeling and our introverted thinking. But also, our least dominant function is our extroverted sensing. That's the feet on the ground part. And a lot of times, our extroverted sensing world is secondary. I mean, a lot of times we're living so much in our head that a lot of times we get caught up in our thoughts. We get caught up in our trouble, our turmoil of our mind in so many ways. And a lot of times, if we're living too much in our head, and a lot of times we feel these extroverted feelings pulling on us. We're always looking for connection while we want to stay isolated. There's so much turmoil that can come about because of that. So much confusion. Now, a lot of times we might drift into one realm or the other. We might even drift a lot into our extroverted sensing world. We might slip into shadows too, because a lot of times we're very confused. We might want to look for some kind of relief in our life. And a lot of times through our life, especially younger, inexperienced INFJs, ones that don't know who they are. I made these mistakes myself, people. This is why I'm saying it is what it is. A lot of times we step into those extroverted sensing. We look for the outside world to basically stimulate us, save us in a sense. That's an imbalance. At this point here, you're shifting. You're shifting your psyche into the extroverted sensing. You're slipping into those shadows in a sense. And if you don't maintain that balance with your introverted intuition, a lot of times this will start to happen. You'll start to just make mistakes. You'll start living imbalanced. You might get into troubles and things like that, depending, especially if you're not really in control of what you're thinking of in your mind in so many ways. So it's good to keep our feet on the ground and also know that we have our introverted intuition, basically. I hope I explained that right. Let's see, it'll unfold as I keep going. Now, number 2 is developing your extroverted sensing, but also maintain a healthy structure of your most dominant function. I wrote that down. Now, basically, that's just it. You have to develop your extroverted sensing in a healthy way, not where you get pulled into that. Like I said, you don't want to escape into it. You also, because of the fact that your introverted intuition, your mind is confusing, and a lot of things that you're thinking of are tugging you in different directions. You need to develop that. I mean, obviously, we have to live in this extroverted sensing world. You got to maintain your life. You got to work for a living. You got to put food on the table. You got to You got to pay your bills. You got to live a life. You've got to live that healthy life because we are in this world now. But our introverted intuitive world is where we are from first. That's our dominant function. When we have introverted intuition, which allows us to see deeper things. It's a gift that we've been given. But a lot of times, early on in our life, we think this gift is a curse. We treat this thing as almost a nuisance. It's like something you're trying to get out of, but don't really understand. You have this FE, which is always pulling you in different directions. Maybe you have a strong sense of empathy that you're not aware of. And these things can start really playing havoc in your life, in your mind, through your life. And by understanding yourself, by understanding your type, by just understanding that when you are maintaining or developing your extroverted sensing, while staying rooted in your reality, but also understanding that you have that introverted intuition to kind of guide you, to enhance you in the proper way. Don't treat that your greatest asset, your greatest valuable asset of your mind as something of a nuisance, as something of a curse. Because when we start using that, or not trusting it, or not believing what it is, or maybe even people may convince you that things that you're thinking are inconceivable. A lot of times we don't trust it because peer pressure may happen. So basically, you have to maintain your dominant function in your mind, and then also while keeping your extroverted sensing. Like I said, that's part of your balancing act. Being in two worlds at one time and maintaining them properly without drifting into either one. Okay, you don't want to get too much lost in your mind, but you also don't want to get lost too much in the into the world as well. Balancing act. Okay. Number 3 is be aware of your thoughts. Stay grounded and understand your shadow functions. Now I wrote that down as well. That's number 3. Basically, that's just that. Being aware of your thoughts. Always just as you understand yourself, especially people as you understand that you are INFJ. This is very important because our thoughts, we have a vast, very complex mind, very deep. And a lot of times these thoughts can get confusing. They can get pulling. Like I said before, they can be very overwhelming. And a lot of times we overthink. We think too much. We overanalyze. We overprocess. We're overthinking. And a lot of times it's exhausting. And so many times, as you know, being that we're introverts, we need our alone time. You got to understand that it's a very complex personality what you have here. But by taking this as a balancing act, by actually thinking of this as a way of balancing, it's going to help you to develop yourself. It's going to help you just to maintain yourself better by not drifting into one side or the other. Because your shadow functions, they're basically all of your opposite functions that you are. If you're maintaining your introverted intuition, your extroverted feeling, and you're living properly, and you're making proper plans in your life, and you're putting things in order, then you're living a healthy life as an INFJ. But when things get backwards, when you get erratic, when you get more compulsive, when you get more just living in the moment, let's say, and basically taking that extroverted feeling and making it the introverted feeling, and you start embracing your extroverted sensing as yourself, you're going to start making very crucial mistakes. You're going to start living reckless. You're going to start living outside of your functions, and that starts playing havoc on your life. So again, that would be an imbalance, and that imbalance is what makes you drift into these shadows as well. Okay. Now, number 4 is understanding your type is important. As I said before, use your strengths and your greatest attributes for a proper balance. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying, people. Okay, understanding your type is important. Now, I say this a lot. The reason I say this, people, because when I discovered the MBTI type myself, I was already older. I had lived most of my life with this type, and I was starting to piece things together slowly but surely. But early in my life, I've had a very chaotic life, a very troubled life early in my life, as you know, as I've told you before. And but I'm trying to make sure that I pass on some of my mistakes to you younger ones out there, and let you know that, if you find out your type early and you understand your type, that you can maybe not make the mistakes I did. Because some of them almost cost me my life. They really did. But I'm just glad to be here. So by understanding your type and just understanding your functions and accepting yourself, a lot of it is just accepting who you are, accepting that this is your life, that you are introverted. You're not like your other friends that just seem to go with the flow, that just seem to be part of the world and be happy with it. A lot of these other types that are common may not align with you. You want to align with them. You want to be there with them. You may want to just partake in that. And that's where you're geared. And that's what I did. I always wanted to just fit in. And I think that's part of our life, is because we're such misfits in our life as INFJs, we feel like we don't fit in. And we want nothing more than to. So we're going to constantly try to start reaching. But what I'm saying is just understand you need your alone time. Understand that you need your introspection. You need your deep contemplations. You need to have these things in your life. This is part of who you are. Your self-discoveries inside of you are crucial to your development. I've said before that the meaning of life is not just one random epiphany. It's a lifetime of insights and realizations. Now, that's something that I came up with before. I think I put that on one of my shorts. Now, I usually think about that. A lot of times it's just a lifetime that we find out about ourselves. And a lot of these are our internal, intuitive discoveries. And a lot of them are mental, emotional, and spiritual discoveries. And it's important to be in touch with these. As INFJs, this is part of your journey in your life. You're discovering about yourself. You're developing. A lot of times in the real world, in the extroverted world, we look at status. We look at our achievements, how much money we have, how much what kind of car we have, how much money we have in the bank, how many girlfriends you've had in your life, how many boyfriends you might have had, depending if you're male or female. Just this is part of our status, the way the world thinks of it. Now, a lot of times we as INFJs want to be part of that status. We want to fit in. So we gravitate toward these external statuses. But the thing is that, you could chase money, you could chase your things, chase material things, but it's never quite satisfying to you. You're more internal. Your status is inside of you. As an INFJ, you got to understand that your status is your introverted intuition. Okay? Your discoveries, your internal epiphanies, your breakthroughs in basically understanding the God code. Yeah, there's another video I talk about the God code, where basically we are born to know things. We are born to understand things just intuitively. Spiritually, we're just born to know these things. And a lot of times these discoveries are what are part of you. And by understanding that first and knowing that's where your status comes from, basically you can maintain a better balance into your life, okay? Because these are your strength and your attributes. And of course, they will reflect into your world, into the basically the ground that you stand on. Let you absorb these and let your attributes come out into the real world, and you will have a better existence, basically. Okay? Carl Jung talked about this stuff. I think I'm putting Carl Jung's basically philosophy into just my words. Okay? Now, another one is your greatest discoveries are in your intuitive soul. SC discoveries reflect your introverted intuitive experiences. Okay, that's basically what I said. Okay, number 5, I just pretty much explained it, people. I always do that. Okay, I have that idea in my head, and so your greatest discoveries are in your intuitive soul, like I said. Okay, so your extroverted sensing and your discoveries are going to reflect your introverted experience. So in other words, we're living in two worlds, people. This is part of your balance. You're living in your introverted world, okay? Introverted, intuitive world. This is where you come from. But of course, we have this world, this tangible world that is full of our sight, our sound, our senses, okay? But that's inferior to us. That's secondary, if you can believe it. That's actually fourth in the list of where we belong, basically. So a lot of times, like I said, we're imbalanced. We live in one part or the other. And a lot of times through our lives early on, we drift from one side to the other. And that's part of our lostness. This This is the lost INFJ. A lot of times we're lost through most of our life because we don't know where to fit in. So we drift into our mind, we drift into our solitude, our introversion, our bunker zones, and then we come out of it. Then we drift back into the real world, trying to find connection, trying to find friends, trying to find that external stimulation. And so we're drifting from one realm to the other through our life. But as you get older, you have to understand that these driftings have to get less and less. You have to stay more balanced. You have to understand that you are here first. Your wonderful intuitive mind here and world that you have here should also just kind of mirror your extroverted world. And you got to kind of keep it more balanced. And that's what this is all about, as you understand that. Okay? Now, number 6 is face your inner pains head on. Now, this is the most critical part of it. And I've said this before, is that a lot of times, yes, we go through pain in our life. And we go through loneliness, depression. This is part of the INFJ experience. And this is something that you really can't escape from. I mean, I've tried. A lot of times we try to escape this world. And of course, there's many avenues to escape this. And of course, most of it is into the extroverted sensing world. Basically, you're running. So you may start going into your shadows in order to escape it. And that's part of what I'm saying, is that a lot of times the pain can be so great, the loneliness, the emptiness, the sadness can be there. And if you're not facing these things, you may run into the arms of somebody. You might get into a relationship. Now, this relationship may become draining to you because it's dysfunctional, because it's for the wrong reason that you're running into somebody's arms. You're looking to escape. It's not a healthy one. So these things don't last long. Well, they usually don't. Or it's going to drain you to the point you're just a shell of yourself, and you'll have no choice but to get out of it in order just to find your solitude again, to balance yourself. Again, drifting in and out of your realms, basically. So by facing your pains, eventually you're going to have nowhere to go. Now, this is my journey, people. I have to say that's part of what I'm talking to you about, and why I'm trying to express this so adamantly, is because you're going to find out that eventually you have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to drift back into because you've been there. You've tried that. You've gone into these shadow functions. You've drifted into somebody else's arms, or you've drifted into substances or narcotics, or maybe you've just got onto like stimulation, things like that. These are your shadows. But someday you may realize as you get older, maybe you're going to get, maybe it's older in your life, but that might be too late for you. You never know. Now, for you younger ones, you're going to understand that eventually you have to face this. It's only prolonged, basically, to face your inner pains ahead, because you have an awakening that you are geared for. And now, the way I can describe this is the fact that, let's just say, again, I'm going to go back to the caterpillar, and I'm going to go back to the butterfly. I mean, let's say a caterpillar doesn't want to go into its chrysalis. It just wants to stay out of that. And it's going to try to prolong. It's going to continue eating. It's going to continue getting, basically heavier and heavier, fatter and fatter. It's going to try to stop the chrysalis process, which is basically the metaphor for the inner pain that you have to face. Basically, what I'm saying is that inner, by facing your inner pain, by facing your inner conflict, by facing it and just letting it be there. And as painful as it is, it's part of your growth. That'd be basically like the caterpillar prolonging the chrysalis phase of its life. But at that point there, it's almost like artificially staying out of it, trying to prolong it. But meanwhile, the body, the mind of the caterpillar just becomes almost like overdeveloped, over-glutted in a sense. And I'm trying to put this in the best words I can. And eventually the chrysalis is going to have to be there. But usually at this point, the chrysalis becomes the coffin. Okay? Yeah, then usually people might end up passing away because of their ills, because of their their neglect on finding themselves, and they may pass away early. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody, but you might just realize that, yeah, your life passed away. You literally, your life passed, and so did you, because you never found it, and you never found your awakening. Okay? So instead of basically the coffin be as the chrysalis, if you face your inner demons, if you face yourself, face your conflicts head on, because you have nowhere else to go, eventually you'll go through the pain. You'll go through the vapid sea. You'll go through your dark night of the soul, which is necessary. And it is actually part of our journey as spiritual beings, as INFJs. And eventually it may take however long it takes. And it's a very painful journey. Facing yourself and letting the pain be there, and facing your pain head on is crucial. But actually, as you go through it, it may take weeks, it may take months, and as long as you face it, tears may fall. You may find bouts of sadness, pain, emptiness, more vapidness. You may feel as though you're going backwards. It may feel as though you're actually becoming more empty, more vapid in your soul. But this is part of your journey, people. This is part of your forging. This is part of the test that you have to go through. But eventually one day you'll just realize, you'll wake up and it won't be there anymore. The conflict will be gone. There'll be peace. There'll be fulfillment within you. It just happens, as if it's just one day you wake up and realize it. And you'll realize that you went through something. You went through a test, and you came out of it better on the other side. You've come out of it more complete, more whole, more in peace. And this is basically the metamorphosis. This is your spiritual metamorphosis that you just experienced. So that chrysalis, that caterpillar that was stagnating, if you let it go through, eventually you emerge as that butterfly. So this is actually a perfect metaphor for the test, for the completion within your heart. It's almost like, as our Lord said, being born again. Yes, this is what the Lord meant as far as being born again, this whole awakening process that we find as well. So people, that's part of your journey. This is part of your forging journey in your life as well. Okay. So basically, I hope I put this in the best words I can. People, I didn't have a script here. I speak from my heart. I speak from my experience. That's all I can do. I'm trying to pass these things down to you, these lessons that I have learned in the best way I can. Now, as INFJs, as we are, I think the best thing that we can do is find ourselves and find out the truth within ourselves, because we're geared that way. We're a spiritual, intuitive creature first. And a lot of times, as I said, our self-discoveries, our inner discoveries are our greatest assets to our lives. That's where we live from the first. And they're supposed to reflect into the outer world. Okay? This is the balancing act that I talk of. Okay? Well, people, I know I rambled on a little bit, and I tend to do that. But I hope that something meant something to you somewhere. I mean, that's my goal here in this later part of my life, is just to give back, is to try to at least let my experiences as an INFJ reflect back to you. And somehow I hope somebody gets something out of this and just understands themselves, because that's the best thing we can do. As INFJs, just discovering your type, understanding who you are, and self-discovery is actually one of the best days of your life, just to know that. But understanding, but now discovering and figuring yourself out is the next step in your life. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just guide you along. And I don't want you to go down some paths that are going to just basically lead you into destruction or just stagnate you for the rest of your life as well. Okay? So remember that, the balancing act. Well, people, thank you so much for finding my channel. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this message, please share this message. Give me thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and leave your comments if you would, please, because they're very important to me to see these. I just want to know that people are are being enlightened by this kind of message here, okay? And above all, people, as INFJs, just understand we're a very rare type out there. We're extremely rare. We're less than 2 to 1% of the population, and it's hard to find other INFJs. And if you do find these channels and you do see these messages, embrace them, okay? There's more of us out there, too. I encourage you all to find out as much as you can about your personality type and understand, because once you discover that and once you start living properly and you start living in a balanced way, your life and your life experiences become so much better. Okay, they become crystal clear. Basically, it's like finding a clarity in your head. Okay. Okay, well, thank you, people, for showing up again. I hope you got something out of that. And again, subscribe and thumbs up and comments, please. And until the next time, people, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.